A new law has been passed, and it will change the internet forever. The digital world has always been a territory without a master, a vast, sprawling landscape where anything could be said, and almost anything could be found. Its laws were vague, written not in legislation, but in terms of service agreements that few ever read. But today, a new border was drawn. In the United Kingdom, legislation was passed that challenges the very architecture of the online wilderness. It is called the Online Safety Act, and its central mission is to erase the phrase, legal but harmful, from the Internet's vocabulary. For years, this phrase described a shadow realm of content, material that broke no criminal statute, yet spread a different kind of violence, the psychological kind. It was the relentless bully hiding behind a screen, the promotion of self-harm to the vulnerable, the deliberate misinformation that poisoned wellsprings of public trust. Platforms saw it, often flagged it, but their obligation to remove it was a choice, not a command. That era is now over. The law places a duty of care squarely on the shoulders of the social media giants. They are no longer mere hosts, they are designated guardians. Their first and most urgent charge is to protect children. They must build systems, digital shields, to prevent young users from being exposed to bullying, pornography, and content that glorifies eating disorders or suicide. Furthermore, they must become proactive sentinels against illegality. It is no longer enough to remove terrorist propaganda or hate speech after it is reported. The requirement now is to prevent it from appearing at all. The consequences for failure are designed to be existential. A company can be fined up to 10% of its global revenue, a sum capable of running into the billions. And for the first time, senior managers face the prospect of criminal liability if they fail to assist the regulators. This is more than a policy shift, it is a fundamental transfer of responsibility. The burden of safety is moving from the individual user, scrolling through an unpredictable feed, to the corporations that build the algorithms shaping that reality. Yet, with this new power comes a profound unease. A critical question hangs in the air. Who defines harm? Critics warn of a slide into censorship, where platforms, terrified of massive fines, will err on the side of silence. They fear the removal of controversial opinions, the silencing of legitimate debate, and the creation of a sanitized internet where the line between protection and control becomes dangerously blurred. The path to this moment was long and paved with tragedy. It was built on the stories of teenagers pushed to the edge by cyberbullying, of individuals radicalized by algorithmically fueled misinformation, of parents pleading for someone to make the digital world safer for their children. Whistleblowers from inside tech companies came forward, revealing how platforms prioritized engagement over safety, how their algorithms often amplified the most harmful content because it was the most gripping. Governments and regulators compiled damning evidence, showing how existing safeguards were inadequate, how the scale of the problem demanded a legislative solution. This law is the culmination of that evidence, a direct response to the crimes of the gray zone. Now comes the implementation. The regulator, Ofcom, has been transformed into a digital police force with sweeping powers. They will demand risk assessments, audit algorithms, and enforce transparency. The tech giants, for their part, will face an enormous engineering challenge, rebuilding their platforms with safety as a core design principle, not an afterthought. There will be legal challenges, technical hurdles, and unintended consequences. Some fear an internet that becomes less free, less spontaneous, more sanitized. Others see it as the dawn of a more responsible digital age. The United Kingdom has lit a beacon, signaling a new age of accountability for the digital world. Other nations are watching closely. The European Union has its own Digital Services Act, and other countries will likely follow suit. This British experiment will become a blueprint for how societies attempt to govern the ungovernable. Whether that light guides the way to a safer haven or illuminates the path to a more controlled and less free internet is a story that is just beginning to be written. The landscape has changed forever. The rules have been rewritten. The digital Wild West has finally found its sheriff, and the consequences will echo through every corner of our connected lives. This is not just a news story, it is the opening chapter of the next era of the internet. And so, the digital frontier finds itself at a moment of reckoning. The Wild West of the internet, a landscape that has operated for decades on a principle of chaotic freedom, is being surveyed, mapped, and brought to order. The Online Safety Act is not merely a piece of legislation, it is the first major shot in a coming war over the soul of our digital lives. It is a declaration that the age of consequence-free amplification is over. The evidence has been presented. The victims have been heard. The law has been passed. But as with any great societal shift, the true story is only beginning. The real drama will unfold in the courtrooms, where the limits of this new power will be tested. It will unfold in the boardrooms of Silicon Valley, where engineers will scramble to rebuild their algorithms under the shadow of billion-dollar fines. And it will unfold in the quiet of our own homes, every time we scroll, post, and share, wondering what invisible line we might now be crossing. This is more than a news cycle. This is a chronicle of power, responsibility, and the eternal struggle to balance safety with liberty. It is a story of crime and punishment on a scale we are only just beginning to understand. And this is exactly the kind of story we investigate here on Crime Chronicles. We don't just report the headlines, we delve into the evidence, we examine the motives, and we follow the trail of consequences. This new digital law is a case file that will define a generation, and we will be tracking every development. So, if you want to understand the real stories behind the laws that shape our world, make sure you follow the investigation. Subscribe to Crime Chronicles and hit the notification bell. Because the crime scene is all around us, and the story is just getting started.